What is up, everyone? My name is Joshua Lopez and welcome to my first ever barber tutorial. So in today's video, I will be showing you guys how to achieve Brandon Harding's hairstyle, or at least my approach to it. So pretty much the reason why I wanted to do this tutorial is just because Brandon Harding is one of my favorite YouTubers, and my client Noah actually has pretty similar hair to him, except for the fact that Noah does have a hard part. So what you guys see me doing right here is just prepping the hair pretty much for scissor work. I tend to spray the hair with water just to lay everything flat in the way that I want the hair to sit, like the way that it sits naturally. So the reason why I do that is it just makes it a lot more easier for me to cut it and just overall maintain the shape of the haircut and just get a better vision of what I want to set up for the haircut. So what you see me doing here is I'm actually throwing in that hard part that I was talking about. But with Brandon Harding's haircut, I noticed that he tends to get a mid fade. So for me, with mid fades, what I start with is a 0 with Andis. It cuts pretty similar to the 0.5 on Wall or Babyliss. And with that, I just create my first guideline and I drop it down towards the back just because I believe the drop looks a lot better than just straight across for Noah's head. But yeah, I create my first guideline with a 0, and then after that I move on to my next. So after the 0, I go to the 0.5, and the 0.5 for Andis is pretty similar to a number 1 for Wall or Babyliss. And what I'm doing is going maybe about a half an inch to 3/4 of an inch up to create my second guideline. And with me, I like to do like a C type stroke, and I move relatively fast. What I like about the Andis envies is they cut slower than the Babyliss and the Wall, and it gives me more time to just focus on my blend. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention, in the first clip, I'm using the 0 and it's slightly closed. As you guys can see, it's not fully closed. I kind of push it. And then in the second clip is a 0.5, and I'm going from halfway closed to all the way open. And if you guys don't know what lever play means, it pretty much means when the lever is closest to you, it is closed, and when it's all the way out, it is open. When it's open, it cuts less hair. When it's closed, it cuts more hair. But as you guys could just see, I cut with my number 1, which cuts similar to the Wall or Babyliss 1.5. And I just use that to kind of blend into the weight that I have created already there. And now what you guys are seeing me do is taking my 1.5, which cuts similar to a 2 in the brands I just mentioned. And that is just to kind of detail everything all together. The blend isn't fully finished, but this is just my initial steps to set up my foundation for the fade. So after detailing, now I'm going in with my Andis Slimline Pro LIs, and I'm making my first guideline in terms of balding. So I'm pretty much just balding out everything. And then after that, I'm gonna go in with my Andis shavers. I bought the brand new Andis. I don't even know what they're called. I think they're called the Profiles, but I'll go in with those just to bald everything out after. And pretty much I'm just taking down the bulk with my Slimlines. So what I'm doing here is I'm just going in with a cricket comb and my clipper closed just to refine the weight area that I left, and that's just to clean it up and make it more clean to the eye. I personally like doing clipper over comb versus just trying to make everything square with a guard, just because I feel like it makes the haircut look a lot more professional and overall just looks a lot nicer. So here what you guys are going to see me do is I'm actually going to start with lever play with no guard. And I'm starting with the lever closed and I'm making my way towards open. And when you're using lever play, you just kind of have to flick the lever to hit the spots so that it blends the way that you want it to. When I use my lever, especially no guard closed, what I like to do is only use 3 or 4 teeth. I feel like that creates the best blend, and because Andis cuts a lot slower than Wall or Babyliss, you have a lot more time to just focus on the blend and not really rush it. Lever play is really important when creating a nice blend, and all lever play really means is when the lever is all the way closest to you, it cuts shorter, and when it's all the way open, it cuts less. So obviously when you make your way towards the top, you want to cut less hair, and that's why you use only 3 or 4 teeth, and you're constantly flicking at your original guidelines just to kind of blend them out. And for me, I like to work in sections, so I don't really go from the whole head to the back. I'll usually start in the front, and then I'll make my way towards the middle, and then I'll break down the back, the drop, into 2 more sections. I just feel like that's what works best for me. Everybody else has their own different ways, but if that works for you, then why not try it out? But pretty much what you guys are seeing me do here is just that, just using lever play to blend out my original guidelines and to just overall put the blend together. So what you guys see me doing here is I actually just comb down the hair to prep his lineup. And what I'm doing is I'm just going with his natural lineup and not trying to push anything back, just kind of following what's naturally there. And with Noah's hairline, I don't have to fully line up his complete hairline. And to be honest, for some clients, you don't have to do that. Sometimes just the corners and the little, like the C cup and the edges is all you really need to make everything pop. So try to avoid giving someone a lineup if they don't fully need it. Like, not everybody needs that super straight, crispy, you know what I mean? Like, hard lineup. Sometimes the corners will just do it, and as you guys can see right here, that looks pretty crisp right there. So after I'm done lining them up on one side, I'm going in with my Andis profiles and I'm balding out with this electric razor just below where I made my first guideline with my slim lines, obviously not trying to create another guideline. And when you're using a shaver, go very lightly, treat it almost as if it's like a paintbrush. And if you see any lines, don't flick up on it, flick downwards on it. And you guys will see right here, I'll flip the shaver over and use only one blade and flick downwards to remove any lines that I don't like. So as you guys can see, the blend is starting to come together and everything is starting to look really nice. But there's still a very few minor details that I'd like to chip away at, just like dark spots and everything. So what I'll go in and do is I'll detail with my 1.5, or I'll use scissor over comb. And you guys are actually going to see me do some scissor over comb in the next clip, I'm pretty sure. When you're doing scissor over comb, I like to take the fine side of the comb, and all you're really doing is being level with the head and just cutting off the hair that tends to stick out from the comb. What this does is it helps you soften up the blend, and it just makes everything look a lot nicer. As you guys can see right here, the blend is looking really nice, and that's just from scissor over comb. So now what you guys are seeing me do is I'm actually prepping the hair for scissor work. So what I'm gonna do is I'm isolating the fringe, and what the fringe area is pretty much your bangs. So when I do isolation of the fringe, for comb overs, I tend to take from the apex of the head where I started the parting all the way down to the recession, which is the corner of your head. And what this does is it just helps you blend in the side lengths and not worry about cutting anything off the front that you don't want to cut off. The reason why I do this is it's just a cleaner, more effective way to cutting the top with scissors. So now that I've sectioned off the fringe, what I'm doing is I'm taking horizontal partings. And what this does is it just helps you create an easier like guideline pretty much for yourself. So what you guys are gonna see me do is I pretty much created like a little rectangle in the front, and now I'm gonna go through and just cut off the lengths that I don't like, and I'm slightly over directing it towards the back because we want it all to flow to the back. And when I'm cutting like a messier look on top, I don't tend to blunt cut it. So if you see me right here, I'm using the tip of my shear and I'm going at a diagonal, and this is called notch cutting. And pretty much what this does is it just creates a lot of texture, and with texture all it does is it just creates a better look, especially for a messier type of comb over, not so super slick. So because we created our stationary guideline with that first rectangle parting, now I have a guideline to like follow, which is a stationary, so it's not going to move. And I use the stationary by moving the hair, and now what you guys see me doing is I'm actually notch cutting. And honestly, the reason why I notch cut is honestly just for texture. I just like the look of texture, especially for Noah's hair, because he doesn't really wear it super slick. It's more of a messier comb over. And with this, I'm just going to follow the exact same stationary guideline that I created and make my way from the front to the back. So now we're pretty much moving onto the other side. So I'm just repeating the exact same steps that I created before, and that's the 0 slightly closed, and then the 0.5, and then the 1, and then the 1.5. So I'm not really going to break down too much because I already explained 2 on one side. But one thing different that you guys are going to see me do here is I'm actually going to blend the side length. So what I'm doing is taking diagonal partings with my comb and my scissors, and all that's doing is creating that like it's pretty much just removing that overhang, because I don't personally like the way that looks, and Noah doesn't like it either. He likes it flush with his head. So yeah, that's what you see me doing right now, is just diagonal partings and then cutting off anything that hangs out of my fingertips. I'm just moving in with my slim lines again, and I'm lining up the other side. Again, just doing the corner, but really paying attention to the detail, making sure it's crispy without pushing anything back, and overall just maintaining a nice natural hairline. Now to make everything pop, I'm going in with my straight razor, and when you're straight razoring, make sure you stretch the skin so you don't cut your client. And when you stretch the skin, all it does is it gives you more surface area to work with. So with more surface area, there's less chance of you cutting, because what causes cuts on like skin is friction, and the fact that skin is very malleable, like you can move skin around. So if the blade doesn't have like a steady surface, it's going to move. And what you guys are seeing me do here is just to make the parting like pop a little bit more, I'm straight razoring it. And with partings, you don't want to make them too thick or too thin, so the straight razor just makes it pop a little bit more and makes it stand out. Now to finish up the lineup, what you see me doing is just stretching the skin, and I'm making that corner really pop, like getting that line as straight as possible, like I said, without pushing anything back. And honestly, this is a good thing to do for your clients if they have a lineup, just because it makes everything look a lot more crisp. And for your photos, or if you're doing a video like myself, like every small detail matters, and your client pays attention to that. And at the end of the day, when your client sees that you're putting in more effort in them, they're going to want to pay you more, they're going to want to see you more, and they won't want to go without getting a haircut from you. So what I'm doing now is I'm actually going in with a round brush, and this is pretty much the styling portion of the haircut. So as you guys can see, I do have the fringe isolated, and the reason why I do this is to create volume in the front. So what you see me doing actually is lifting the hair, and I'm blow drying it actually backwards, because the way that I had cut it is that it is all blended, so it is pretty much connected on one side and disconnected where the hard parting is, and that's what creates the disconnect, is the hard part. So when blow drying, I'm using pretty much like medium heat, and towards the top, like towards the curl area, I'm hitting the trigger, which creates a cool effect. And when you use cool, it pretty much leaves the hair in place, so it just gives you a nice overall shape to put your product in. And yeah, so pretty much what I'm doing is I'm just blow drying the hair and getting it to sit the way that I want it to sit. So after blow drying all of the hair towards the back, now I'm working on the recession area. And what you guys can see me do is I'm actually angling my blow dryer towards the roof. And what this does is it helps create that volume and that like almost like messy look in the front. And Noah is a big fan of this, so I tend to do this for him all the time. And when you do this, it just creates a nice overall look for the shape of the haircut. And me personally, I like the way it looks on comb overs. It just has a lot of volume on the front, and then towards the back everything is kind of slick. And for me personally, it's just a nice clean look. Now to enhance the texture, I'm going in with Slick Gorilla. What this is a texturizing powder, and all it does is give the hair a matte look. And I use this as like my pre-style before I put any pomade or anything, just because it gives the hair a nice hold, and it pretty much holds the shape for me before I even put my pomade in. So what you guys can see me do is I just threw it in Noah's hair, and I'm actually just messing it up and then trying to get the shape down like the way that I want it styled. And then after the texturizing powder, I'll go in with the Saint matte texture cream. It's kind of like it's pretty much a cream, and what it does is it just gives the hair a nice matte look without being too hard or too sticky, and it just gives you a nice overall natural looking hair. So with that, I'm just going to go in and pretty much apply it all throughout the hair thoroughly, and yeah, just make sure I get it in the spots that I want the hair to stick out to. So with the hard part, I'm making sure to slick the hair down, and then just making sure that I incorporate all that product into the hair to create the nice overall look that I'm going for. So now that the product is all set in, I'm going to be going in with my Kevin Murphy styling brush. It's a little dirty, but it does the job. So pretty much with the brush, or sorry, the comb, what I'm doing is I'm laying the hair flat in the way that it wants to lay naturally, just based off the crown. And with the parting, I'm just laying everything flat, making sure there's no hair that shouldn't be not inside the parting. And then with the shape, what I'm going to do is towards the back, I'm going to slick everything backwards into the side. And then with the front, I'm just going to add a lot of volume. So what you guys can see me here is just slicking it so that it's flush with his head. And now I'm adding volume to the front, just to create that like messier, almost quiffed look in the front. So now this is the end result, and it's looking really nice. If you like this haircut, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on my notifications so you get notifications when I do post. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the haircut. I'm pretty sure it looks like Brandon Harding. Tag Brandon Harding in the comments. Let him know that you found his haircut through my tutorial. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.